Hi guys, I'm Brad and welcome to the script department. I'm joined by Marcus. Hi Marcus.
Hey, man.
Today we're going to take a look at the extraterrestrial madness of Nope, written and directed by the amazing Jordan Peele. But before we get slowly consumed by an intergalactic meat grinder, if you haven't done so already, check out our website, thescriptdepartment.net, for all our latest projects. Also, you can follow us on social media, hit the links in the description, and of course, subscribe to our podcast. Just search the Script Department wherever you get your podcasts for daily episodes. And if you feel like supporting us to make more quality pieces of content like the one you're about to watch, then you can click the link below and buy us a coffee. So, Marcus, what did you make of this? Did this film live, because it was really hyped up,
Mm,
really hyped up because of what's gone before?
yeah.
Do you think it lived up to the hype initially?
I mean, this guy's on a roll, isn't he? He's churning out these. I've heard a lot of buzz about redefining horror and the modern take on horror and things like this. Um, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was. I enjoyed unpacking the puzzle. I think this is one of those films that's a to give you a little bit of background, actually, weirdly enough, I watched probably a week before I saw this. My wife and I sat down and watched Signs,
Mm, yeah.
the Mel Gibson one, and I found a weird amount of parallels between those two films, between Signs and Nope. And I think there is, aliens for starters, the kind of the house isolated, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of kind of interesting surface level stuff knocking around there that's very similar, and I think that made it all the more interesting for me watching this because I had another alien horror movie to compare it directly with, though this does take some very interesting twists and turns away from the established kind of alien invasion thing. So yeah, I got a real kick out of this film, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. What did you think? You
So
like it?
it's funny that you say Signs, because I was trying to think of a comparable franchise or
Mm,
film that had the same kind of thing, and
yeah.
that works perfectly. And spoilers for Lost, so if anyone's seen Lost, earmuffs.
Ooh.
Um, Similar kind of thing in that, where it's like there's this big build up, and it's like, oh my goodness, what is actually happening? Oh no, it is just the magical thing that we thought it was all along. So
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Signs, it's, oh my god, these people are going crazy. They think it's aliens. Hang on a minute, is it aliens? Yeah, it's aliens.
Yeah. It's
And
aliens. Yeah.
then with Lost, it's like, oh my god, there's this magic island. There's got to be a mystery behind it. Oh, it's just magic.
That's
It's
magic.
magic. Okay. And then it happened in this as well. It's like, oh my god, are they? Oh yeah, it is aliens.
Yeah.
Like,
Aliens.
good. It's because I think that because he gets people's emotions across so well. Like,
Mm,
you understand what the characters are feeling, and you understand the way they're approaching something and why they're doing it. He does that
mhm.
really well, and he obviously picks actors who have incredibly good. I like to
Oh
say Kaluuya's got amazing eye acting. Like,
yeah.
it's just amazing. Like, he could just purvey so much with just a look.
It's so little.
But but
Yeah.
Peel does this, and you kind of feel what they're feeling. So initially, they're not sure it's aliens,
Mm,
and you're tugged along in this way that you're like, okay, okay, yeah, I now believe it because I've gone through the process of those guys believing it in front of me.
yeah.
And I just think, like, every little string that he pulls along the way, it's very intricate. I think this one's less intricate than his previous two films, but
Mm,
it's still got his subtleties that really add to the sort of flavor of this thing. I mean,
for sure.
I mean, it was kind of implied very heavily on the trailer that it was aliens, but it didn't. So it kind of left you in the dark a little bit. So
Mm.
did you think it was aliens from the start, or were you
Yeah,
just,
I did. I went
yeah,
into it thinking, okay, I'm going to watch an alien film, and it was, and so I think that's a really interesting point. Actually, I wonder how that would have been if I'd not known going in, because there's I one of my favorite films ever, and we'll get to it in the rewatch podcast at some point, is The Green Mile, and The Green Mile does this thing. Stephen King does this thing. You find this very grounded setting, very grounded environment, a prison, for example, a horse ranch, something like that. And then you just throw a curveball at it. You throw something that has no business existing in the world that you're creating. For example, the
Yeah.
Green Mile, and spoilers for the Green Mile, but for example, for the Green Mile, John Coffey and the Magic. If Nope, it's which is just such a great and simple name for a horror film. It's so great. It's
It's
so
great, and they say it a
evocative.
lot.
It's
They
yeah,
call it out a
really
lot, don't
clever.
they?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
wonderful.
Nope, 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 nope. Love it.
Nope.
But then with this, it's the aliens. You know, it's this grounded world, and you're so right because it does build it, and it makes you convinced that it's a thing and that it's a
Mm,
real and tangible thing within the world that it's created within those rules and everything. But I wonder,
mhm.
if I would have felt the same way about it if I wasn't pretty sure it was aliens going in. Um, I
Yeah. I
I
mean,
I
there is
want
a double
do,
fake though,
you
right?
know? Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, I
Marcus,
think
go
there
on.
is. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no,
so the
no, no.
double
It's okay.
fake
Like
is
I
'Cause
after
the
you,
double
Matt.
fake for me was the not telling you it was aliens, convincing you it was aliens, and then it turns out it wasn't a flying saucer, it was a monster, which was an alien. It
Mm,
was an extraterrestrial creature, and it took the shape of the traditional 1950s and 60s saucers, and it was like this whole,
yeah,
they were implying a whole other sub story that this whole time we've been seeing flying monsters, not flying saucers, and I just thought that was
yeah.
very clever how they did that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really interesting twist on something familiar. You know, that iconography and that idea, that concept that, as you say, is so familiar in popular culture. And then to twist on it. But I think what's really smart about this film is when you get into the structure of it and you look at um the kind of the animal rights argument here. And
Mm.
there's a huge amount of stuff that goes on here. You know, the way the horses are treated, for example, the way that there's something very meta about the fact that in the studio, the no one listens to him when he's saying, "Please stay away from the back of this thing. Please don't spook this animal. Please don't do all this," and then it kicks off. And then it then comes back round later. You don't look it in the eye, you know. Then it's going to leave you alone. And obviously the whole business with the terrifying business of the chimp and the sitcom and everything like that, which
Oh
is
my
just
god.
so haunting. And
Gaudy.
Gordy, yeah, that's
Gaudy,
it.
yeah.
And there's so many layers to this thing, and it's so well woven into the fabric of it. And I think that's what makes this film successful for me, is that it's not about aliens, it's about a creature and it's about a
Mm.
predator and it's about an animal, and I felt legitimately sorry for the alien when it was dispatched by the big blimp um balloon
Yeah.
thing, you know.
I
I felt really sorry
A
for it.
little bit. A little bit. I felt a lot more sorry for the alien than I did for the TMZ guy on the motorbike.
Oh my god, for sure, what an idiot, my god.
I wouldn't say I was gutted they'd killed the alien because that was the I don't know, I felt like I was on that ride like, get it,
Get
please.
it, go on. Yeah.
Don't kill Kiki Palmer, just let her
Yeah.
live." It's just Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it was just it was very it feels like it's a Route One film, but it was very well put together.
mhm,
I think he'd written it over a number of years, or at least pieced the stories together over a number of years because a lot
mm,
of the components were real. So like the chimp attack was a real thing that happened, not
yeah.
exactly that way, but he read about that. Apparently, he had a dream about it. There was a tweet from 9 years ago, and I think it said, "I had a dream where a chimpanzee attacked a bunch of people, then it came up and gave me a hug, and I woke up in tears."
Oh my god, wow.
9 years ago, you could see it on Twitter. It's just there 9 years ago, and it's like,
Trivia, Brad. That's awesome. I love
okay,
that.
yeah. I mean, it's not like I googled stuff 5 minutes before I came on here, but it. But I did hear that in an interview that he did a few weeks back. Yeah, just that. It's like, okay, he keeps those nuggets. So for all those writers out there, I think we've said it a few times before. Just keep those nuggets somewhere. Just
Yeah,
wherever you want to put them. Just in a little notepad, in a moleskin, in whatever you want to put them in. Just keep them safe.
yeah,
Because
for sure, for sure.
you could be the next Jordan Peele.
Oh,
Maybe not.
and
I don't know if there'll be another Jordan Peele, will
another Jordan Peele. Yeah, yeah. He's still
there?
on the rise, isn't he? You can't be the next
Yeah,
if he's the current. But no,
yeah.
it's yeah. That's such good advice. Like I had a dream years ago when I was living somewhere else, and that there was some kind of creature at the door, and it was like banging on the door and banging on the door, and I went up to it and said, you know, went to open the door, went like, go away or something like that, and it just goes, no, or something like that, and it was just like, no, this really like guttural deep voice. And for some
Wow.
reason, that image of that closed door and the something behind it that you just can't quite see, it's always stuck with me. And I put it in a film recently, so it is a
Oh,
thing.
nice.
I'm not comparing myself; it's very different,
Keep
but it's
keep those nuggets.
keep those
Store them.
nuggets.
Keep your nuggets in the freezer.
Yeah, keep your nuggets in the freezer.
So I think w the tone of Peele's films are I they're hard to describe. I mean,
Mm,
he's almost got his own tone now. I mean, the three films that he's done to date, so Get Out, Us, and Nope,
yep.
are all very different films,
Mm,
but there's something tonally similar about them, and I can't entirely put my finger on it. So it's no surprise that the main story of this film was a bit weird. It's
mm,
pretty out there, the same as his other films.
yeah.
Extraterrestrial monsters that slowly eat people as they're flying around.
Yeah.
Actually, is he a flying sarlacc? Jean jacket.
Maybe it
Oh
is.
my
Maybe
god, it's a flying sarlacc.
it's a flying Sarlacc. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness,
that's it.
Brad, we've cracked something. We
It's
related it
it's
to
a
Star Wars.
shared it's a shared universe with
It's
Star
a
Wars. Oh my god. Wow.
Oh wow! It's the
Okay, it's a flying
evolution.
sarlacc.
It's the
Anyway,
evolution of the Sarlacc. That's exactly what it is.
yes.
It came from the faraway galaxy, and it left long ago, a long time ago
Wow.
in a galaxy far away, and it's finally reached us. And
And now it's reached us. Wow. So okay, so
backstory too.
Jean Jacket, the
Yeah,
alien, the flying Sarlacc. Um, that's the main story. But then, as you already mentioned, like there's this quasi B story that
mm,
the whole film's wrapped around really about the
yeah,
chimp attack, and it was really unsettling,
mm,
really unsettling scenes. But I couldn't not look at them.
yeah,
Like I couldn't not look at them, and it wasn't necessarily a car crash. It was like a curiosity
hmm
in within fear, which is what he was trying to do with it. I mean,
yeah.
what how did you feel the tone worked in this film? Did you feel uncomfortable like me, or how did you feel in the film?
Oh God, I don't know. I found it very uncomfortable. But like kind of masochistically, gleefully uncomfortable. Like I really, that the whole, actually, first and foremost, the technical achievement of this film in creating the chimp and how
Mm,
real that thing looks, because it's not real. You can just about there's not a bit of uncanny valley there. You can see it's not real, but it is masterful in the way this thing is
yeah.
created, and it relies on it. Without that being a believably real animal, that whole
Mm,
sequence doesn't work. So that's really impressive. And I think that's the
mm,
thing. I think the tone of this is so um normal. Like it's so close to reality. It's
mm,
like it's in moments almost dull, and I think it uses that kind of that dullness to it's the light and the shade, isn't it? You have this sort of extreme dullness in the portrayal of the characters as well. You have the son, who is this, kind of world weary, I'm doing this because I need to because of my dad, but
yeah.
actually,
I got work to do.
I got work to do. Yeah, you want to come do some work? Nope. Um, get it? And then his sister, who's this kind of out there. I'm doing all this stuff. These two kind of completely opposing character
Mm,
archetypes that work so nicely together, because it creates this reality. I don't know how to
mm.
define it really. It's a really
It's
interesting
difficult.
question. It is difficult, and I think that's what makes it so interesting, because it's not a film. I think this is a film that I need to watch again. And I think I can answer your question properly after like two or three times through, because I'm still processing a little bit about this film and quite how it works, because from a tonal perspective, it's a bit mixed up. There's all kinds of stuff
Mm,
going on in there. And I think that's the real genius of the director and the writer um to put that together and make it work. which
Yeah.
is not really an
Yeah, well,
answer to the question, Brad, but I liked it
well,
anyway.
no, I think I asked the question because I don't have an answer for it myself.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like totally new territory.
Mm.
It feels like he's breaking ground on something new every time he makes a film,
Yeah.
and it is great. So he seems to be. We'll see what his next 5 films are like, but he seems to be a visionary in this sort of in horror, because
Mm.
you can't say it's a slasher film, it's a monster film, you can't categorize it. You could probably try and slap a label on it, but I
Mm.
don't think you can do
I think
that.
that
And I mean,
I think
just
this is
all of the
probably the easiest one to categorize because this is an alien movie, right? This is that it is an alien invasion movie because it is to all intent. I mean, in the most direct way, aliens coming and invading and stealing horses and doing all of these different things. His other two, I agree with you, less kind of on the nose, but I think that's what's so cool about this is that he has made a a bit more of a genre movie here because it
mm,
uses all of those. It ticks off a lot of those boxes. You know, look at Signs, for example. To come back to that, it ticks off a lot of the same boxes that Signs does, and it goes through a lot of the. You know, there you've got your jump scares, you've got um, your kind of red herrings, you've got the double backs, you've got the seeing something in the clouds, you've got news footage, you've got all of this stuff. It's all there, but he subverts it and subverts those expectations. So, for example, that bit where he's in the barn and the little alien, the little guy's kind of like sticks his head out and he tilts his head like that and comes at him. I excuse my French in advance. I absolutely shit myself when that
yeah,
happened because I
yeah,
was like, that is awful. And then it turns out to be kids. It's
yeah,
almost a direct reversal from Signs on what it was because they thought it was kids and it turned out to actually be aliens, which is an
mm.
interesting thing I've just put together there. That's interesting. Um, so I think in terms of categorization, it is what it is, but it's done with a twist, and I think that's what Jordan Peele is doing that's so interesting.
So yeah, I agree with the idea that there's a subtext to this film that
Mm.
makes it something else, I think.
Yeah,
So that it's the idea of spectacle, right? That's it's the spectacle that we can't look at. Like, you can't look this thing in the eye,
yeah,
otherwise it will consume you. You can't, like Gordy.
yeah,
People are obsessed with it. Like, you can't look at this, and he's alluded to this in a couple of interviews, that that's the subtext of this. That it's sort of like it's a critique on modern society. Like, we can't stop looking at car crashes. We
yeah,
can't stop it. Like, we just look at stuff constantly on the internet, whether it's reality TV or, you know, the wars or
mm,
like, we just can't stop looking at it, and it's like we're addicted.
yeah.
And I think it's a critique on that, which for me takes it out of the horror genre. No, it's still a horror film, but like, it just I don't know another film like that that's
Yeah.
as mainstream as this one. And
Is
to
it
say it's
a
mainstream, to say it's I mean it's at the cinema and it's people are talking about it and there's posters up for it.
mm,
It doesn't. It's still not exactly a blockbuster, but
no.
some of the films that do critiques on society are they were never off VHS and things
Yeah.
like that. And it's like it's on a big platform and it's saying quite a lot.
Mm.
I
It
mean,
does feel
particularly with this. Sorry, Marcus, go on.
no, no, it's okay. It does feel like an indie movie, I think. I think you've
Mm.
hit on something there because it does feel like an indie movie. Would you say it was a satire? Because I wonder if perhaps I don't know if I would, but there's
I
something of
don't think the film's a
satirization.
satire, but he writes his scripts are rife with satire,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily slap you in the face satire. It's
Mm.
just truthful analysis of us.
Yeah.
Like,
Nice.
it just is. And I think of us, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
from his previous films, we've seen the dramatic and really inventive ways that he approaches race, and in particular black identity.
Yeah.
And the mechanic in Nope's a bit more subtle than the other films, but it's just as effective and really educational to sort of audiences that might have a like inherently unconscious bias.
Mhm.
Um, for example, the story of a black man riding the horse being the
Yeah.
first film star and a race from history. they elaborated on giving him an identity because he doesn't have one.
Mm,
Um, and I feel like I should know that, but I don't think I
I
did.
know. I
It
thought
feels
exactly
like
the same thing.
immediately like new territory. It's like, okay, this isn't just a horror film. Like I'm going to learn something from this about the world, myself,
Mm,
society. Like there are multiple messages here, and I think
yeah.
he's just incredible at doing that. And there were definitely other few character studies or critiques or whatever you want to call them, like the Dolly Parton style
Mm,
character going, "What, your name's OJ," and being freaked out by it.
yeah, yeah.
And the fact that it was a white director that swoops in, an eccentric white director to like save the day, and then
Hmm.
he effectively takes his own glory from it. And that
Yeah,
it all feels that doesn't feel like a normal horror film. It feels like there are so many other messages within this.
yeah.
Um, I found it riveting throughout, and I sort of tried to take in as many of these sort of like they're not even Easter eggs, like conversations from the film. Like,
Mm,
were there any that sort of jumped out at you, regardless of what it was covering? Was there because we said we're going to watch an alien film,
mm.
but then there were all so many different things happening in
Yeah.
it. Were there any parts that jumped out of you,
I
sort
think
of
the
like these
race
stories
angle
or subjects?
really grabbed me because it is it's so well done. It's not about that, but it's absolutely about that. And what I found really lovely is that they open this up by saying, did you know the first image on ever recorded to film is a black man riding a horse, and the final image of this film is a black man riding a horse. And
Mm,
I got chills in the cinema. I was sat there and I was like, that's amazing. Like that's this is so interwoven, and there's that amazing moment where you've got he's cranking this camera and he's following him along, and I respect the hell out of Jordan Peele for not doing this, because I was expecting them to cut to a point of view shot down that lens to see the black man riding the horse, and you
mm,
see made with the same cranking camera and everything like that. And I think that I loved that. I thought it was such a well written. This is just a really well written film, and
mm,
and I think that there are so many elements to this. It was that one. You're right with the spectacle. The fact that they meet their end in the way they do at a show, and it's like it's one of those crummy, like, falling down, hey there guys, I'm going to do this
yeah,
kind of thing. It's all that mock western nonsense, and it's that you get at these kind of things. And no disrespect to anybody who likes that kind of thing, or does that kind of thing, it's not for me. But it's one of those things that I think people are turning up to watch this show and watch this horse get eaten, and then the horse doesn't go, and this guy is just it's an interesting character study of that particular character, because he has seen such a horrific thing and was moved, but clearly moved by the fist pump, the bloody fist pump of this chimp, and then he gets shot in the head.
yes, yeah.
It's such a
But it doesn't even
harrowing
complete
moment.
though.
And
It doesn't complete, which is it means so much,
no,
I guess.
he never quite gets there.
Yeah,
It does. But then he turns this awful and harrowing experience into a way to make money. And you see him,
yeah,
you see him haunted by it, and it's almost like he doesn't want to do it. And then he doesn't learn any lessons. I think that's the really interesting thing about that character, is he doesn't learn anything, and he is the, I suppose, for that plot line, he, I guess, is the audience surrogate. No, not audience surrogate. That's
yes.
totally the wrong way of putting that.
N
But it's
but
the way he's
he's
like,
yeah,
he's representative
yeah, he's
of humanity, I suppose, and kind of going, you're not learning what happens when
yeah,
you treat the environment, when you treat animals in that way. And there he is, and he's going to go and release Lucky, I think the horse is, and the
mm,
horse is just like, fuck you, dude, I'm not going over there. I'm gonna stay in my in my little thing. And all of the rest of you who are watching this get punished by the animal who is being quote unquote hunted, and and I think it's, when you put it in terms like that, it almost sounds like it's on the nose, but it's not.
mm,
It's really subtly put together, and it's really well done. And I think that I guess those are the two subtextual elements of this that really
Mm,
stuck with me, and the image of the image of the chimp fist bump, and the way he I think they open up I think they open on it actually, where he sat there and he kind of suddenly turns around and looks down the camera from across the room after this, and he's
yeah,
just this blood soaked beast. um, that will stay with me. I dreamt about that the night after because I that has really
yeah.
stuck with me. I think it's a very, very visceral image.
But I found it interesting how they returned to that a number of times, but
Mm.
they didn't always use a different shot.
No.
So the opening shot of the film happened again later on, but it
Mm.
was part of that really long take.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you and it's like, "Oh, oh, we've caught up with the okay, we're gonna see what happens now," 'cause you know it's coming, that
Mm.
the chimp's going to look directly down the lens, and it's
Yeah.
just I mean, it's terrifying, but
I've just realized as well. So I've just sorry, I'm just putting this together as we're talking. The In that sequence where they get taken off from the Western thing, he
yes.
sat there. His co-star, who's had her face eaten off by the monkey, not monkey, the
Yeah,
chimp, is in the audience. So he is
yeah,
looking directly at his own past, at his own trauma, and at the evidence that what he is about to do is wrong. He's looking at it
mm,
right there, and it's entirely made by her, and yet he does it anyway because he doesn't learn
yeah,
anything.
he's not
Sorry, it's
learnt
just to
he's
tack on
not
to
learnt.
that previous point.
No,
That's
no, I
so cool.
agree.
I love that.
It goes into that idea of the spectacle not being able to stop
Mm,
looking at this thing regardless of what it is or what it will cost.
yeah,
Like, it's almost like Don't Look Down.
yeah,
You have
it
to look
is.
you have
You
to
gotta
look
look down.
down, and
Yeah,
I
you gotta
think
look down.
it's a really interesting critique on it, particularly with, um, the analysis of people's mental health and social media at the
Mm,
moment. I think it is in line with a lot of the worrying messages we're getting about, depression and, the chasing of the rush from social media and
yeah,
never leaving it, never being able to leave it alone kind of thing.
yeah,
And, it is worrying, and I think this definitely looks at the nature that's within us to sort of keep looking at that.
yeah,
Um, and I just think the writing of the characters, the little everything in it, all the little the costumes, all the
yeah,
costumes they had, like the Tex Avery Wolf T-shirt, like that was you're like, oh
yeah. It's great.
yes, yeah, that's slick. I know that they're going to sell a lot, or someone is going to
For
sell a
sure.
lot of Scorpion King's
Yeah.
hoodies
Oh, that
with
was so
crew written on
great.
the back.
Yeah.
I want one of those.
I want, yeah.
I wish I was wearing it now for this review. Like it was, although this was a in the in a desert environment, you know, alien film, it was slick. Like there was a lot of things in this film that were so well
Mm,
put together. I mean, even the equipment and the cameras and the hand crank camera that he
yeah.
makes himself, and it's like, okay, there was some real serious art direction
Mm,
that went into a space that was kind of, you know, dead in a way.
yeah.
Like a desert doesn't grow anything. There is little life there. All everything, the TMZ guy's helmet, like it was
Yeah.
just brilliant. Like like the art direction in this thing really, really sort of again brings it out of
Mm.
the horror spectrum.
It
It's
does,
feet
yeah.
firmly within horror, of course, but I think it sort of transcends that somehow.
I think you're right.
Um,
It felt
yeah.
at times almost more like a thriller in places. I think it is a horror, and I'm not going to dispute that because it would just be nonsense to do so. But it felt there are elements there that are more occasionally more thrillery. Certainly when we get to the end of it, I think
Mm,
once we have once we have looked the creature in the eye, yeah, that's right. I'm here all week. Um, then and we know what it is, and we know what it looks like, and all of that. I think it does move into more thriller territory, and it feels as though you've got
yeah.
that big ending. Now, this is one thing though for me, is that I do feel as though I don't know. I think it was maybe 10 minutes too long. Like they got to the end of this thing, and it felt as though once they got the footage of it, that for
Mm.
me is kind of great. You've done what you set out to achieve. And then suddenly the cinematographer climbs up the hill and he gets eaten, and I don't really quite follow why. I mean, I get that he was looking for that best shot, and that was what drove him, and it's the impossible shot and stuff like that. I understand all that. I didn't think it entirely tracked. And then suddenly we're racing through the desert, and you're being hunted, and she's being hunted, and everyone's being hunted, and then it's not a saucer anymore, and now it's a beast and stuff like that. I don't know. I think it might have been more interesting if it had retreated behind its cloud, and then we see them selling this footage. And actually, I think it would have kept it more grounded. I think it went perhaps a little bit too um, science fiction thrillery for me at the end
So there
there.
was a
I
little
think I
less
possibly would
mystery, right?
yeah,
Yeah. I think there was a little less mystery in the end there
yeah, I
because they could have kept it alive. They could have suggested that there was another one. They could have suggested that they thought they got it, but they didn't. Uh,
mhm.
maybe the photo didn't. People didn't believe it, or what? There were many ways they could go. I think with the director, there was the really subtle sub story of that he was dying. Did you get that in
Oh,
there? Because he
I
was like, well,
missed
so
that
he said,
entirely.
so they say it's the shot of a lifetime. There's just two little bits I picked up, and I'm sure there's more. It says shot of a lifetime, and it said probably not in my lifetime. And he's there all gaunt and thin with his dressing gown on at home. And then
Ah,
when they're in the camouflage hut thing, he's sneaking
yeah,
tablets out of a pot, and the tech
yeah,
guy
yeah,
is sort of
yeah.
watching him with a really depressed look on his face, as if, oh, this isn't going well. So I think that was his death wish
Oh
to
shit.
go to get the shot. The light's gonna
Yeah,
be magic. It's-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's just the fact he said you don't
I
deserve
missed that.
a miracle as well, which
Yeah,
was that was a bit heartbreaking. I was like, oh my god, he's not what they needed. He's not who they hoped he was, and he has
yeah,
betrayed them. You
yeah,
don't deserve a miracle, you people. Like it
yeah.
was just like you
Yeah.
bastard.
That does all right. That does lend a bit of
Yeah,
context to it, but I don't know. I still that's really interesting. I totally missed that.
it was so
See, this is
subtle. It was so subtle. Yeah,
one of those films. I think we're gonna be able to watch and watch and watch and watch, and every time there's gonna be more.
but that was going to be my final question for you. Are you going to watch it again?
Yes,
But you just answered that, Marcus.
I'm gonna.
No,
You
no,
know
I'm
what?
not going to watch it
No,
again.
never, never again. No, the ending just was too long for me, and I'm not ever watching it. No, I will. Yeah, I'll go and watch this again before it leaves the cinema. I think if I can, if I get round to it, because it is. I just on the technical note to pick up what you were talking about a minute ago. It is a very beautiful film. It's a
Mm.
incredibly well shot piece of cinema, but also the sound design. I I was so into the sound design. The fact that when they are when this creature is moving overhead, you can hear the screams of the people
Oh
being
yeah,
eaten. Ugh! Oh my god! And the horses and the blurring of
yeah.
the sound, the kind of distortion of the horses and the people and all of this that, and the other. Oh
The
man, it was
weirdness of it
chilling.
was marvelous. The fact that it kept them, it was almost like it was filling up its face like a gerbil,
Yeah,
and they were just alive in there, and then
yeah,
all of a sudden, crunch, and they stopped. But they could be in there for hours. It's awful
yeah.
feeling. Like
Ugh,
my friend I was watching it with, when they get sucked up into it, and you see them going into the intestines and stuff. He just leaned over and went, "I'm never going to sleep again." It's like, I feel like that, right? I feel like that as well, but it was just
yeah,
terrifying.
totally.
But yeah, all of those quirky little
Yeah.
things, the keys and the metal dropping out of it, the fact it became
Mm,
scared of flags because of the flag it ate on the metal horse, like all of it was just
yeah,
wonderfully written. And I think
yeah,
it's got, again, I will definitely watch this again, and I'm going to see it at the cinema. Like
yeah.
and I want to go back and see his other films as well again. I mean, it's just there are hidden depths to it, I feel, and it deserves second, third, and fourth watches at least.
I totally agree with you. This is a new area for me. Regular viewers will know that Caleb and I reviewed The Thing on Screenwriters Rewatch a while back,
Oh, classic.
and it's the first time I'd seen it. I've not been a horror guy in my life, and I'm now kind of getting into it a little bit. and beginning to understand it. So I think maybe we need a series where educating Marcus in horror, and you can all show me the
Yes.
most horrific crap to scare the living daylights out of me. That sounds fun.
Oh yeah, there's some peaches out
Yeah.
there. Right, lovely. Okay, mate. Thank you so much. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. I love this film. I can tell you did too. Thank you everyone for listening. This has been the Script Department. Please check out our website at thescriptdepartment.net for more conversations like this. Take a look at our social media. The links are in the description. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for the Script Department and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Nice one.